Hello, everyone. My name is Alexander Menkov. Today is 5th of February, 2023, and I would like to continue my series, Daily Reality with Alex. Today is snowing in my country, and you can see the snow in the background. And while we have the snow, we can continue exploring the different ideas and the different things that are part of our reality, because of course we are mainly using our mental realm in order to understand reality, and it's full with concepts through which we are trying or to explain reality or to understand reality or to project in reality. And today I would like to speak with you about reality, which is conditional. And this is a very interesting topic for me because of the law of the cause and effect. Everything in reality is following each other because reality is fractal, because everything in reality is working in coherence, and because nothing as an act or a deed or an intent or a thought or an imagination cannot have its own influence. That's why we are living in 100% conditional reality. And then why it's so, and we as human beings can't we change it? And of course, a lot of us are thinking that we can, and especially with the idea that in the human being there is something more that we can bring to reality, and we are constantly trying to resist the construct or to improve it or to evolve it or to change it, and we are 100% confident that we can do it. Because of course we are enabled to be like gods, and we would like to be able to perform and to even outperform what already is. And that's why we are constantly going into different type of delusions, and we are constantly testing different type of probabilities, and then we are a lot of time unhappy that instead of allowing, and instead of accepting, and instead of letting go, and instead of entering a state of total surrender, we are constantly trying to move forward, to influence, to bend, to shift, to transform. And in a sense, we are allowed to do it to some extent, but if we are thinking that we are able to change the so-called matrix or the construct or of how the ways are, it is impossible. I know that there is a big desire in the human beings to imagine in ourselves an unconditional reality. We would like everyone to be able to be as he is, and still we to hug and love each others, and to accept and to know that everything is good and beautiful, and we are not able, I don't know why, but we are even not willing to accept the reality as it is. And for me, this is the way that we are to go if we are able to understand that to move with reality is much more better than to try to go against it and to try to invent impossible, in the sense impossible because they are coming into the flows of resistance and the flows of opposition and in the flows of accusation that what is not perfect. And of course, because we don't understand why we are to be conditioned, why we as human beings are to follow conditions, because of course, basically we want to feel the comfort, we want to escape the sufferings, we don't want to put the efforts. We think that we are to be given everything that we want for free. And of course, these battles between our inner egoistic state and the outer reality can create a great opposition between us and life. And we can move into this direction where we are experiencing constant fights with reality. And even sometimes we can feel like winning, but long term, it is not going to create lasting change and harmony with reality. And I'm just going to give you now one story about how we as humans think that something is very beautiful and good, and we are constantly striving towards it. And the constructors of reality and the architects of everything are not allowing it to the human beings to happen. Or at least they are going to allow it for a very small period so that the human beings can become convinced that these probabilities that they are willing to collapse are going to bring totally the opposite of what they want. But we as humans, we are anyhow beings that are constantly in necessity to make mistakes in order to really experience knowledge. Because when we desired to eat from the fruit that gives the knowledge of good and evil and to become like the gods, we thought that maybe this is a very pleasant and wonderful process. And what we are constantly experiencing in reality, that the lessons we learn are the lessons we are really suffering through, and the lessons that we are paying something in order to learn. These are the most expensive lessons, and all of us can reflect upon their personal lives, and even some of us can estimate the lessons with a lot of hundreds or millions of dollars or euros. And I personally had my own lessons. I had a lessons which costed to us $500,000. It was a dinner where it was paid from another company, and we were enticed. We signed a contract that later brought us a big $500,000 disaster. And later on, I had other expensive lessons in life. But the beautiful thing about when something hurts us, when something brings us pain, is that we are remembering it for all of our lives. And when we speak about the big desire of the human beings to live unconditionally and to be out of all the laws and to try to escape everything that is already aligned and put into the construct, and this is one of the laws of the cause and effect. I'm going to give you now one example when the human beings decided to build a Tower of Babel from the ancient texts, and it is written not only in the biblical manuscripts, but it is also mentioned in some other sources outside of the Bible. And the thing is that men didn't want to be scattered. They preferred to stay united, and they thought that if they are using the power of the supermind, the power of the mastermind, and if they are together in unity, they can build and create everything. And if you think about this, it's all about we as human beings are striving for. We are striving for unity. We are striving for world peace. We are striving for so many beautiful things that we want to create and establish, because then they are going to give us the perfect happiness, and we are going to create such an advancement that we are just going to flourish, and the designers and the creators are just intervening and are not allowing the human beings to come into this state of mind, consciousness, and experience, because it is going to harm us. And I didn't know why before. Now I understand that once the human beings are willing to come into unity based on the egoistic principle that this is what we want, this is the false unity, and this is going to bring long-term disaster, slavery, and 100% obedience of the beings towards one specific common good, goal, or idea, or it is an enslaving principle. It looks like from the human perspective that this is all we want. But if we ask ourselves, do we want to go into total slavery, even of a good and nice idea, we usually are not going to like the end results if we can envision them from the beginning. But since we are not like the gods, we cannot understand sometimes the reason why things are not given to us, and we are furious and are really fighting for everything that we want, instead of understanding the power of surrender and the meaning of true unity, because the unity and the unconditional experience that the human beings are imagining is the oneness where all of us are the same, where all our egos are subjected to a higher ego that is going to control us towards a beautiful future. And for some reason, all the time, at least 70% of humanity is always ready to do it. And of course, when we move through the history, we see that all the evil humanity has done were deeds that were committed because of a higher good cause. We are so inspired when we are to move into higher dimensions of good and wellness and beautiful ideas, that we can create such damage to ourselves, to nature, to the universe, and we can very fast become such a rebellious creatures without even understanding, because we are easily enticed into this higher ideas, common good mentality. And we don't understand that this is part of the ego working within us and trying to create for us beautiful illusions, which are making us to ignore our daily reality deeds that are not beneficial for all. And the opposite idea about unity, it is not based on the oneness, it is not based on the unconditional thinking, but it is paradoxically going to bring to humanity freedom, peace, joy, and love, if we understand that we are beings that are created to work under order, to be following the conditions that already exist, to be aligned, and to work with the laws that are there for all of us. And I know it looks like hard. It looks like that we as human beings are going to give away our power for free. But once we understand that surrender is our biggest weapon, instead of resisting and trying to fight for a freedom, trying to fight for better and wonderful higher ideas by trying to improve. But of course, some of us are always saying, well, Alex, but this is how humanity is actually evolving. It is evolving through totally and all the time resistance of all the limitations and receives the ability to create something beautiful, and especially it mainly bursts into technological advancement that all of us today are really experiencing, and it is giving us more and more comfort, and we think that this is great and this is what are the benefits of the human resistance of the limitations that are put for us. We the humans are enjoying going against the laws in order to be able to advance into our long-term desires to become unity, peace, and oneness, in the sense that we are ready to become as one, to become generic, to erase our authenticity, to erase our uniqueness, to sacrifice ourselves for the common good. And it is happening everywhere around the world. When we look at the most unpleasant things that are happening everywhere around the world, they are always done for a bigger, higher purposes and meanings and goods. And I'm just going to give you now one or some small examples of how I'm doing these principles in my personal company and in my personal daily reality, because a lot of you can say, well, Alex, this is just philosophy. There is nothing in it for me because it's not practical. I cannot implement it in the personal daily reality. And since I'm a practical person, and the mostly paradoxically, more and more I'm going into the deep of the experience of the reality construct, more and more practical I am becoming. And I don't know why it's so, but for sure, I'm not after ascension. I'm not after enlightenment. I'm not after becoming something. I'm just after experiencing normal human life as it was designed to be. And when I'm working now with the workers in my company, I have created a rule where I will never give my workers what are their biggest desires. And of course, the biggest desires of every worker is to receive the salary for their sector that is bigger than all the other salaries around. If I create this condition for my workers, they are going to become immediately my slaves forever. And the beautiful thing is that I can do it. I can give them the biggest salaries possible in the moment on the market so that I can enslave them very easily and then can become forever faithful to me. But is this the benefit that they can experience? Because in reality, construct is created in such a way that every being to be able to experience freedom of choice and to be able to detach immediately from whatever it wants. This is the perfect freedom. And this is what was given to the human being in the Garden of Eve when it was allowed to eat from the fruit of the knowledge of the good and evil and to become like the gods. And of course, with all the consequences of experience death, of being coming into suffering, of going out of the comfort zone, and so on and so on. But it was a possibility for it from the beginning. And in my personal company experience, where I'm trying to express myself as much as possible of who I am, and I would like to build a culture where I want workers to work in this organization, not because they receive the highest possible salaries, not because they cannot go into another company for some hundreds of euros more, but because they are able to really express themselves and they can feel the freedom of how their own personal efforts are creating beautiful things for the organization, for themselves, and of course, in the end, for us as an owners. But if I start getting afraid as an owner that all my workers are going to go into another company just because I'm a little bit underpaying them, and I know that there is this tendency where some other guys are preferring to overpay just to keep the people 100% or worshiping them or just staying in this environment, and even come into the condition that they are getting afraid that maybe they will be fired for such a beautiful and desirable job that gives them so much. I prefer to create environment close as possible to reality, where all the workers are feeling a little bit unsatisfied. And it is the same in reality. In reality, we can never experience 100% satisfaction, in the sense that all the time, everything that we want, everything that we are urging for is totally given to us unconditionally. We are dreaming like being these small babies or small children, where whatever we demand is a necessity to be given to us unconditionally. But since the designers of the construct are desiring long-term to create a different type of beings than just beings that are consuming reality, that are consuming the energy, that are consuming all the pleasures. But we are long-term going into a destiny where we are to become givers, life-giving spirits, or becoming part of the exchange of nature, where the purpose of everyone is to just pay it forward, to pass by, to give away, and to enjoy it much more than the acceptance and the receiving of whatever is coming to its experience. And for me, this is a very interesting concept, because it is helping us all to understand that by design and purpose, reality is created in such a way that we are to understand the construct and to go into alignment with what already is, instead of moving forward with the humanity energy and power to resist and create different types of realities. Did they had the ability to do it in the Babylon era, where they wanted to show the gods, where they wanted to create a different experience, where all the humans are together, where all the humans have one will, and they become unbeatable, and they can really create whatever their desire wishes. And this is one stream, one impulse of possibilities and probabilities, but it is at the expense of the individualized human beings being erased as authenticity. And because I was living in the communist era for approximately 15 years, I know, because I embraced this dream while I was 8 years old, and there was nothing better for humanity than the communism, than such a way of living where all of us were living for the common goods. Though the individual consciousness of my parents and older relatives were not feeling happy, but because it was the common good in the young generation where I was really dreaming for becoming part of this common good society. And of course, it was at the expense of all of us using uniforms, all of us thinking the same, all of us performing the same, or little by little, a lot of our uniqueness was intentionally erased in order we as unity to perform the common good that was designed from the agenda of the people that were designing the system. So, on the contrary of the pyramidal scheme of society, what reality is actually encouraging is 100% individualized consciousnesses that understand the power of wholeness that is 100% and totally different than the power of the oneness, of the egoism, of the humanistic experience. In the wholeness, there is inclusiveness. In the wholeness, there are general conditions that are guiding reality in such to such extent that as little as authenticity there is anywhere around in the individualized conscious experiences, it is guarded, supported, and encouraged. Well, but Alex, what is going to happen if we are in a reality of 8 billion different thinkers with 8 billion different opinions? We are not going to be able to create anything wonderful here on this planet. And who said that we are to do this? Why we think that today's our civilization and the way we are moving forward is anyhow beneficial for the nature and is beneficial for the normal human being, and not only for the so-called 1% that has and are designing such a concept that by all of us rising up to the common good of the human egoistic nature, we are actually being enslaved more and more. And that's why I enjoy so much the other possibility where now I understand why it's better people to be scattered, why it's better people to not have the same labels and use different languages, even for the same thing. And now we're living in an experience where we don't understand the territory. We have so many maps for the same thing. And for me, this is okay, because I would never enjoy 100% dogmatic reality where if I say something different than the common narrative, I'm going to be someone that is cast out and someone that is going into the cancel culture and is someone that is not going to be accepted. And of course, even if I like it or not, I'm open for all type of realities, But for me, the important thing is what I'm cherishing and what is valuable and what is precious in my inner inside being. And that's why I'm so strongly encouraging wholeness and uniqueness and authenticity of every being. And according to me, this is why I'm devoting more and more of my time into ruling reality coaching, where I'm able to help beings to understand what is their positioning. And of course, long term, everyone is to decide for itself the directions they are going to choose to move, or with the impulses and the tendencies and the trends of the human unconditional goodness of reality, or to stay with the conditions of how everything is, and only there under the laws and under the order, and by embracing the conditions, true power is staying anyhow. And for sure, it's always like this. We can never beat the matrix, we can never beat the construct, and for sure the construct is always winning. So if we are trying to play against the house, it's still possible. We can gamble as much as we want through our intentions into moving into egoistic desires and aspirations. But reality has always its way in encouraging and supporting beings that are willing to be aligned, that are willing to be coherent, and that are willing to really express their essence of who they really are. So thank you for watching today. Enjoy your conditional reality, enjoy reality of laws, enjoy reality of order, because once we perceive reality as it is, only then we are able to experience real freedom of expression. Bye-bye.